Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello, and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. This week, I wanted to share with you an experience of taking a walk along the popular coastline of Espinho, Portugal during the high season. Now, the high season in Europe is essentially what they call summer vacation in the US, occurring roughly from the month of June through August. This is a time of year where most Europeans and many other tourists from around the world take time to travel throughout Europe, especially to the better known tourist destinations. And the busiest month by far is August, when it seems all of Europe is on vacation and traveling. In fact, the Portuguese warn newcomers here to plan to not get anything important done in August because everyone is on vacation, except the tourist industry business, of course. In the coastal tourist locations where I've lived, Ericeira and Espinho, it's pretty amazing to see the beaches transform from empty and free to places full with beach bar cafes, cabanas, and reserved pay areas with lounge chairs and sun umbrellas. Espinho has the added attraction of temporary designated beach sports areas roped and netted off, and even 2 or 3 beach stadiums, all of which pop up almost like magic seemingly overnight on June 1st and then completely disappear again on September 1st. Not literally, but almost. So enough talking, let's go take a look. I invite you as always to please sit back, relax, and enjoy our short walk along the coastline of Espinho, Portugal. Virtually every walk to the beach for me begins with crossing the railroad overpass, which is just about 2 blocks from my front door. The western end of this overpass provides a beautiful view of the northern third of the entire Espinho coastline. You may recognize this landmark from episode 48. This boardwalk begins at the northernmost end of the Espinho Esplanade, though Esplanade in Portuguese has a different meaning than in English. After quite a bit of digging, I believe the correct Portuguese translation for Esplanade would be Passeio Marítimo, or sea or maritime walk, or walkway, which is marked by this monument. So I will start my walk south along the Espinho coastline from this landmark, but not before stopping at my now favorite spot for a light meal and a beer. This is Marbelo Praia Bar. Where I first met a minha amiga nova, Leonor. Hola, Leonor.
Hi.
Hola. After a tasty salmon bruschetta and salad and an ice-cold small tap beer called a fino, I was on my way. When talking with Leonor, I mentioned how eerily quiet it seemed along the beach, and she was as surprised as I was. I said it was kind of like someone had declared the summer high season over or something, and she just shrugged and chuckled and agreed. But I soon discovered it was a very different story by the time I reached the main beach area, as you'll see in a few minutes. As you can see, the closer we get to the center of the main beach area, the busier it starts to get. I've really got to remember to keep my fat fingers away from the lens of the camera. And this is the Espinho Municipal Pool, which is also extremely quiet for a sunny, high season summer day. The high season in Europe is a reference to the time of the year when there is a steep and significant increase in travel and tourism. And it runs roughly from June through August, with the busiest month by far being August. I've also heard references to the shoulder months, which are the months just preceding and just following the high season. Used to be May and September mostly, but I've also noticed that the high season seems to be getting longer and longer, at least in the time I've been here in Europe. So it can extend really from April into, if not through, October. So it's not at all unusual for areas of Europe to get incredibly busy at this time of the year, especially tourist areas. It's also the time of the year when airfares and accommodation rates can go up sometimes double or maybe even more. So for anyone traveling or wanting to travel on a budget, I suggest traveling perhaps in April or May, and then again from mid-September to mid-October as being great months to do the same travel, but maybe for half the cost. I know when I flew over in October of 2021, my one-way airfare was nearly half of what it was in the previous August of the same year. I've heard some people complain that restaurants raise their prices during the high season, especially in big tourist areas. And some even say some restaurants have separate tourist menu prices. All I can say about that is that in my time in Portugal, I have not been aware of any of that going on. You can begin to see as we approach the central main beach area of Espinho that it gets progressively busier and busier with a more representative feel of the high season. We're now at the north central end of the busiest beach area in Espinho. And this is where the high season crowds really start to pick up. Tashku is another of my favorite places to stop for an ice-cold fino and a bite to eat. And of course, Gelateria Italiana is my favorite spot for a gelato or Italian ice cream and a sea view. An unbeatable combination. And as you can see, as we reach the southern third of the Espinho coastal area, the crowds really start to thin out.
Não era um pobre então. Vai lá, não mais por aí. Afonso, vai à volta. Deixa-te estar aqui. Não é
Começámos a conversar antes. Porquê? Vacinas.
Sim. Ainda não, a pessoa dona no sofá, lá está aqui.
This industrial chimney is all that remains of the Real Fábrica de Conservas Alimenticias, or the Royal Canned Food Factory, founded in 1895. After nearly 90 successful years, primarily as a sardine canning factory, it was forced to permanently close in 1985 and was ultimately demolished in 2001. This chimney was left standing as a memorial and historical landmark for Espinho.
Não tem culpa. Mas para fazer as maneiras é culpa. Porque eles não entendem.
You may recognize this traditional style fishing boat from episode 63. Its historic design is called Barco da Chaveca, and this is one of a few that are still actively working along the coast of Espinho. It is on these southern beaches of Espinho where the fishing boats land and pull their seine nets with their daily catch of local fresh fish onto the beach and empty them to be readied for delivery to local restaurants and markets. We have now just crossed the southernmost border of Espinho into Silvalde, and way off in the distance you may be able to just barely see the Oporto Golf Club. I hadn't realized before this walk that both the northernmost and southernmost borders of Espinho are pretty much defined by two streams, or ribeiros in Portuguese. In the north, it is Ribeiro do Mocho, as featured in episode 57, and in the south, it's Ribeiro da Silvalde. And with that, it's time to head back home. Thanks again for watching.